Good evening. Philosophers for millennia have been debating what is the meaning of truth. What is truth? And so much paper has been used. I would even say much has been wasted in the discussion of what is truth. Some basic thoughts of even of the secular philosophy are also consistent with which we'll be talking tonight. And we're not going to make a relative comparison between truth, the concept of truth in Greek or other philosophies. We're going to be studying Torah. We're going to be studying Tanya. And if anything may be related to what someone has studied or read about other philosophies, well, it may be so. But we're going to look at what Torah says about it. And truth comes into the picture in the discussion about the Beinoni. We're at the end of chapter 13. We're going to close chapter 13 today. And it's still about the Beinoni personality. The Beinoni personality is a personality that is in a constant struggle within themselves. And therefore, he needs always to be on guard. We also spoke about the Beinoni. One of his strong points is that when he davens, or perhaps even studies Torah, and he does it with a passion, with avas Hashem, with the love of Hashem, in that time, he becomes like a tzaddik, more like a tzaddik inside as well. Generally, a Beinoni on the outside is like a tzaddik because he does what's right. His actions are like a tzaddik. When we say on the outside, it means it's what he does. And when we speak about what's inside, is his character, his desires, his impulses. And the Beinoni on the inside could be like a rasha. And he will have the impulses and the desires for material and even perhaps what is forbidden. So that is in general a Beinoni. However, when a Beinoni is davening, his passion is so strong, and during that time, on the inside, he's also like a tzaddik, because when he's on fire with Yiddishkeit, with his davening or with his learning, the spirit and the holiness permeates him on the inside as well. And during that moment, when he is davening, his passion for Hashem and for the spirit is so strong that his animalistic instincts are basically asleep and not sending impulses and so on. And we also learn that this also has an effect on him after davening. Since he davened with a passion, therefore, the rest of the day, when he's out in the street, he's more able to control his impulses and his materialistic desires and desires of the flesh. He's more able to control them because there's still an effect and the residue of his davening and learning with a passion. So now the question that we're going to be discussing now is truth. What is a true mitzvah? And what is true passion? And the question is going to be raised specifically about the love of the Beinani. When the Beinani is on fire with love for Hashem, is that truthful? Is he truly in love with Hashem? And when he has the passion to do his davening, can you say, well, it's a truthful love? By extension, to a certain degree, we can ask ourselves this question. My Yiddishkeit, my mitzvah, what I'm doing, is it really, truthfully? I'm doing mitzvah because it's the truth? Am I serving Hashem in truth? And this is a question that people ask of themselves. Do I really mean it? Is it really true? Am I really there? To what degree am I believer in God? Do I truly believe in God? To what degree am I a Jew? Am I totally a Jew? To what degree am I doing this mitzvah? Is my Yiddishkeit in me the truth? What happens if I'm doing a mitzvah today and then tomorrow I'm doing the opposite? That means the mitzvah that I did when I did the mitzvah wasn't the true me, and perhaps someone who comes to shul only on Yom Kippur. Is that truth? Is there truth in his coming to shul on Yom Kippur? Is that the truth in him? Is that his truth? And specifically, the Alter Rebbe is going to address this question by the love, concerning the love of the Beinani, and then we're going to try to take it out of that specific question and answer and perhaps extend it in a broader sense. So he starts at the end, as I said, in the end of chapter 13, about the quality of love that is by the Beinani. He says, "V'hinei midas avazu hamor bebeinanim." This love that we speak, that the Beinani has b'shas tefillah. So when he's davening, he has a love and a passion. Al yidei his gabrus hanefesh elikis chulu. And the Alter Rebbe used the term before. This love is by his godly soul overcoming his animal soul. It wasn't naturally an expression of his essential nature to love Hashem. The Beinani has a very strong animal soul, and he loves a lot of stuff because of his bodily makeup and even his habits, and even possibly his negative habits. So how does he come to have that love to Hashem? A love of such an ideal and a passion for the Spirit? It's because of his gabrus hanefesh elikis. It's because his godly soul overcame the animal soul. So he tells us, if you compare this to the love of a tzaddik, you can't compare the love of the Beinani to the love of the tzaddik. Hine legabe madregas hatzadikim oivdei Hashem be'emes lamitai, who serve Hashem with an absolute truth, emes lamitai, truthfully true, so to say. Ein b'chinas avazu nikras b'shem avodas emes klal. The love of the Beinani compared to the love of the tzaddik, it's not true love. It's not true love. The real word he uses, it's not avodas emes. It's not true service to Hashem. It's not true service to Hashem. Why? Why is it not true love? Or why is it not true service of Hashem? because it moves away from him. It ceases after davening. So after davening, it's gone. So during davening, he loves Hashem with a fire, and the fire is on fire, and he's with a passion. And after davening, the fire is gone. So if it's gone, it's not called true, quote unquote. Certainly when you compare it to a tzaddik. And he brings a verse. There's a verse that says, in Mishlei, Svas emes tikkun la'ad. Lips of truth always stand. And false language, va'ad argia l'shein shakar. False words, they stand for a second. So Mishlei is a collection of wisdom, proverbs, of Shlomo HaMelech. And he gave a definition of truth. Truth is forever. Lies don't last. So therefore, if you look at the definition of truth of Shlomo, something that lasts is true, something that is momentary is not true. So by consequence, if the love of the Beinoni is only when he is davening, and that's when he's through and through possessed, so to say, by holiness, or not only possessed by holiness, he is a piece of holiness, and he is thoroughly good. So then the tzaddik is truthfully so, because it's not passing. But by Beinoni, since it's passing, so he is good when he's davening, and he is possibly gross when he's after davening. So how good is the good? And if we're following the definition of Shlomo, something that is true lasts, and something that is not true is passing. So therefore what follows is that you can't compare the tzaddik to the Beinoni. So after chapter 12 and most of 13, he's praising the Beinoni, and he's speaking about how important and central the role of the love of the Beinoni, and how the Beinoni in the inside is like a tzaddik when he davens, and he's on fire on the inside, and he's telling the Beinoni, he's saying, but relax, it's a passing love, so it's not quote unquote true. But this is half of the story. Va'af bikein legabe madregas habeinonim nikras avoda tama be'emes la'amite shalahem. Nevertheless, it's called avoda tama, in the truth of the Beinoni, on his truth. There's also his truth. The truth of the Beinoni. The truth of the Beinoni is true. So now we have a new insight in truth. There's the truth by the tzaddik that is lasting, and there's also the Beinoni's truth. The Beinoni's truth cannot be compared to the truth of the tzaddik, but it's complete. It's avoda tama. Now, from the get-go, I want to say, in the secular literature, from what I've heard or read, there's a discussion about absolute truth and relative truth. So, absolute truth. So the philosophers, the secular philosophers, are not too keen on an absolute truth because of their tendencies. So every culture has their truth. And today, in the insane world that we're living in, There's my truth, there's your truth. So if a man is a man or he's a woman, so there's his truth and the other person's truth and my truth and your truth. I'm entitled to my truth. And what I like to call this is fake truth. Everything's fake today. So there's fake news, there's fake truth. But here, even though we're saying there are levels of truth, but you can't, but so how does this work? You know, it shouldn't truth be the truth. It's either true, and if it's not true, it's false. And if the Shlomo Melech HaMishlei is saying that truth is lasting, and it's not lasting, so then how is it true? And nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe says, don't put down the Beinoni with the argument that it's not lasting, and therefore it's not true, and therefore it's false as if. Because he has his truth. And he's going to make 2 points to support that. Very important points. And as I said before, points that he's speaking about specifically the love of the Beinoni, but it's also going to apply to everyone to a certain degree. So what are the 2 points? He says, first of all, it's called Avoida Tama. Avoida Tama is a term that the Alter Rebbe uses here, that he borrowed from Gemara, from Halacha. And it speaks over there about offerings, the laws of offerings in the Beis HaMikdash. So you offer something to Hashem. So a rich person could offer a lot. He could spend a lot of money on an offering. Poor person, he'll bring a bowl of flour, because he's poor, he can't afford an animal offering. And then in each offering, there are laws. Some things the one who brings could do. Some things only a kohen could do. So there are a lot of stages from the time that a Yid brings his offering to the Beis HaMikdash, and he brings it to the kohen, at which point the kohen takes it, what the kohen does with it, how he brings it to the altar, to the Mizbeach, and so on. And each one of these things is called avoida, the service. That's why in English we call davening in the shul the services. Really, this is taken from the way it's called, what they did in the Beis HaMikdash. The services were the offerings. It's called avoida. In fact, the book of the Rambam, which he brings together all the laws of the offerings, he calls that book Sefer HaAvoida, of the services. So now he says Avoida Tama. Each step in the service, each step is another part of the service. There's the service that completes it all. Avoida Tama in Halacha and in Gemara, it could mean the one that completes it. That was the last step that makes it whole. That's avodah tam. Literally, tam is something that's whole. Tamim is whole. If an animal that you want to bring as an offering has a broken leg, or it's missing an ear, it's not whole. Tamim has to be whole. A yid also has to be wholesome. Tamim tiyem Hashem alakecha. That's the word tamim. Avodah tama is that part of the service that completes it, that makes it whole. In other places in Gemara, they speak about what is the essence of the avodah. That part of putting it on the fire, on the mizbeach. There's a lot of stages. It's putting it on the mizbeach or the zrikas hadam. So here, the Alter Rebbe is saying the Beinoni, that service that makes him whole, that makes him complete, the avodah tama, that makes him whole and complete, or his level of perfection is his love for Hashem. And therefore it's emes lamite shalahem, it is their truth. I could explain it with there's a mimer in Likutei Torah from the Alter Rebbe. He points out when we say the Shema, it says you should love Hashem with your heart, with your soul, with your heart, with your life, ubechol ma'idecha, and with all your might. So the Alter Rebbe points out, it says with all your might, ma'idecha. Your might, not with all one's might. Serve Hashem with one's love. It could have said, serve Hashem with one's love and one's life and one's might. But it says, with all your might. Mo'idecha. What's the difference if it would say, serve Hashem with all? Because with all my might, let's say tzedakah would be a few $1,000s. But the wealthy person with all his might, it'll be a few $1 million. What does it mean to serve Hashem with all your might? Your might. When you're giving more than what you could or should, you're pushing yourself to your extreme. It may be less than someone else's extreme. So you are studying Torah half hour a day, an hour a day, but the yeshiva bocher, the rabbi, is studying Torah 6 hours a day. So what is your half hour of learning worth? Or what's your $1,000 worth? Well, look at the big guys are giving $10,000, $100,000, $1 million for tzedakah. So you'll feel, what's my learning worth? A half hour. What's my tzedakah worth? I give $1,000. Look what everyone is giving. So therefore it says, love Hashem with all your might. Now, if the poor man is giving all his might, he's giving $50, but because he's giving $50, he's going to skip a lunch, right? Like they say, give until it hurts, right? And then, how do you compare this to the wealthy person? What is he going to skip? If the wealthy person gives, say, $50, so he's giving $50, you're going to say, well, it's the same. He's going to give $500, but it's still, did he skip anything because he's giving the $500? Did he make the equal sacrifice in sacrifice as the poor man is $50? No. So if you want to compare, sort of say apples with apples, you have to say, well, if the poor man is giving $50, okay, so he's going to skip a lunch. So maybe the rich man should give whatever is going to be. Maybe it's $10,000 for him, so he's going to skip a vacation, maybe. And maybe for a wealthy man, skipping a vacation or spending less on a vacation is to him as much as a poor man skipping a meal. Poor man skips a meal pretty often, like maybe, right? So let's weigh all your might. So what is avodah tama? Avodah tama, it makes me complete. What makes the poor man complete is a certain level of tzedakah. What makes the layman complete? A certain level of Torah study. Not the Torah study of the Torah scholar, and the poor man, it's not the charity that the rich man is, it's what makes him complete. And Hashem knows that. And hopefully we work on ourselves to make ourselves whole in our Yiddishkeit. So therefore, if you want to compare the tzaddik to the Beinoni, the Beinoni's love is just during that time that he's davening. And the tzaddik's love is always So how can you compare the love of the Beinoni to the love of the Tzaddik? He says, wait a minute. But Tzaddik is made of different material than the Beinoni. Especially later on in Tanya, he's going to say, most of us are not even given a chance to become a Tzaddik. Hashem just wants us to do what's right. Just do it, they say. And a Beinoni, Hashem, it could be most people are born. Just do what's right. Don't get rid of your lusts and your impulses. Do what's right. Bottom line, are you doing what's right? Then you're okay. So if you don't even have a chance to become a tzaddik, how am I going to have true love for Hashem? And therefore he tells us there is your truth. Your truth means, like they say in a lousy English, your mostest. Give your mostest. Ish kifi madregasa v'madregas habeinoni. And it's each person on the level that he's a Beinoni. There are different levels of Beinoni. Right? There's different levels of Beinoni. And there's different nature in everyone. Some people, half of learning is more than they can do. They can't concentrate for a half hour. But even a layman's person, you can learn for an hour. I was speaking to a former student of mine. He works in Manhattan, and he travels from Crown Heights an hour a day, each way. So I say to him, you have 2 hours every day. What do you do on the train for 2 hours? You should learn for 2 hours. Hashem put you in a place that you can study for 2 hours. He was a pretty good student. He says, I can't study on the train. Why? He says it's very crowded. It's crowded. From what stop is it crowded? Until what stop is it crowded? You can squeeze in some more time. Okay? So I'm just giving you an illustration how each one should ask themselves, what is his ma'itcha? And then he makes another point. Another point why the love of the Beinoni is still so significant, even though it's passing. If you want to get technical, the Alter Rebbe is telling us, and you want to be, so to say, faithful to the text of Shlomo HaMelech, when Shlomo said that the true lips of truth last forever, that the truth lasts, it's not passing. If you want to come with that argument, to a certain degree, the Beinoni's love is also lasting. Why? Because he is capable to repeat that all the time. He always is capable of inspiring himself to feel love to Hashem. He does it consistently. So we're talking about a Beinoni who's davening. Every time he davens, he feels a passion for Hashem. Or maybe a Beinoni like a Rabbah who's learning brings him a passion to Hashem. So this Beinoni is doing it always. So is that lasting? If he's consistent, that's also lasting. Doesn't have to be constant. Doesn't have to be constant. It could be consistent. And halachically, the oilas tamid, or the offering is called as the offering that's constant. We're constantly bringing. Doesn't mean constantly bringing literally every second. It means the fact that we're bringing it every day. These offerings are called tamid. So constant doesn't mean something that is going on always 24/7. If you are doing it consistently, that's also called constant. So even though you still can't compare the Beinoni to the Tzaddik always has that love in his heart, and the Beinoni only when he davens, but since he does it repeatedly, so then it is also like constant. And especially that it's in his hands to do it. That means potentially he can always, even in the middle of the day, in the middle of his workplace, on the subway, he, if really wants, has the mental capacity and the spirit to inspire himself to love Hashem always. So potentially, and consistent, potentially it's constant, because he's always able to do it, and practically he consistently it does it. So we can also say of this that it's everlasting and it's always. It's because he always consistently overcomes his instincts to have love for Hashem, to proper preparation, according to his level, and according to his level. So therefore, we see there's another definition of truth, which I think, making it in a broader sense, to a certain degree, that applies to many people who are not necessarily a work of the Beinoni. So if I'm learning and I repeatedly learn Torah, so even if I'm not, is this fake? Is my davening fake? Is my tzedakah fake? Is the person who comes to shul and Yom Kippur alone, is that fake? Is that worthless? Is the people who one day do right and the other day wrong, their mitzvahs are worthless? You see that if that moment, this is their ma'oid shalahem, there's just, who's measuring? People like to measure the other people. He doesn't mean it, he's a faker, he's this, he's that. Hashem measures the truth that's in heart. He judges and measures how much truth is in the heart. So yes, you can't compare the tzaddik to a Beinoni, and certainly not a Rasha to a Beinoni, but what's inside, this is a big question. And then even if a person who's not religious, but he does make sacrifices for his mother, for example. So you'll find sometimes, he's a goy. Hashem sees what's going on. And then you have someone who's supposedly religious, and you could ask, so you want to start being a judge? Is he davening with the truthfully? Is it with truth? Is there a motive? Is he trying to impress people with his religiosity? Is he davening for Hashem, or he wants Hashem to scratch his back? Where is truth? There's the story which is told of a man going from shul on Sukkot. So on Sukkot, you have a lulav and an esrog, right? And then he got himself a new talis for Yontif, and he has a special prayer book. He has to have a Sukkot machzer. So he's going from shul, and in the old country, in Eastern Europe, not everyone had a lulav and esrog. You had to bring it from Italy, from Israel. It was very expensive. So only a wealthy man or a really God-fearing man put together a lot of money saved, so they would buy a lulav and esrog. But in a city there was a dozen or a handful of people who had a lulav and esrog. So this guy, Reb Moshe, he was wealthy and very well respected, and he also enjoyed the prestige that he had. Let us say he really enjoyed the prestige that he had in the community. They would call him Reb Moshe. So Reb Moshe is going from shul on Sukkot, and he's walking home with his lulav and esrog and his new talis. He feels very good about himself. And Reb Moshe is walking slowly home. And the reason he's walking slowly because when everyone passes in the street, so they point to his lulav and esrog. Oh, you see, Moshe has his own lulav and esrog. And you see, he also has a talis. Looks like a beautiful talis. And everyone's saying, oh, good Shabbos, Reb Moshe. Everyone's making their business to go, give him honor. And a mother has a little boy, and he says, you see, he has his own lulav and esrog. That's Reb Moshe. The rest of us would use the shul's lulav and esrog. So he's going in the street, and he's enjoying all the honor that he's getting. And then suddenly he feels an itch in his back. His back is biting him, and he wants to scratch. He's looking around. There's no tree to the right. There's no tree to the left. He wants to scratch his back, and he's still walking towards his house, but he can't think anymore about the people telling him good Yontiv Reb Moshe. And he's looking, maybe I could put down my lulav and scratch my back. But where's he going to put it down? And also, you know, he has his talis under his arm, the machzor under the other arm, and his hands are full. So if he's just going to put it down, then the talis is going to fall. And it's all getting very complicated, and he's looking if he could put it down somewhere. He doesn't want to just put it down, it's going to drop the edge. And he's not thinking, and people are passing, good Shabbos, good Yontiv, Reb Moshe. And he's going crazy. It's biting his back, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And he still has a way to go home. And he's really upset. So he lifts up his eyes to Hashem. He says, Hashem, my hands are full of your mitzvahs. Scratch my back. So, is that his mostus? Buying a lulav and esrog for him? Is he doing the mitzvah because in truth he wants to do a mitzvah? You never know. But truth, what is the truth? Is he mean it truthfully that he's starting to serve Hashem? So, but sometimes, yes. Never judge anybody. So now going back to the Beinoni, he's going to explain the concept of truth and how truth is on all levels. So I don't want to call it relative truth, because the relative truth, which my understanding that the philosophers talk about, is that everyone has the right to create their own truth, which is fiction. There's a truth. So how does this work? So the truth is, it says in Chassidus, that truth, the absolute truth is Hashem. Absolute truth of Hashem, when we say that in Hashem Elokechem Emes, or we say Hashem Hu Elokim. What do we say Yom Kippur? Hashem, everyone's screaming 7 times, Hashem Hu Elokim. And everyone means it. And that's the truth at that moment, even though when they leave the shul, maybe who knows where they're going to go. But on Yom Kippur, in the shul, when everyone's shouting at the end, right before the shofar, they're saying Hashem Elokim. Now, then there's a pasuk, Hashem Elokim Emes. That Hashem is Emes, He's truth. The Rambam uses the word, Hu levad Emes, ve'ein la'acher Emes kamitase. The only Hashem is absolute truth. And nothing else is true like God's truth. Why? Because truth, absolute truth, is always and forever. That's absolute truth. And that's why Shlomo said, truth is everlasting. He's talking perhaps in a worldly sense, in a human sense, but in a Torah sense, and in an absolute sense, only Hashem is absolute truth. Even the philosophers talk about truth as something that can be proven in all circumstances. If you want to prove a theory, you try to replicate it in all circumstances. And if in all circumstances the same results happen, or in different labs have the same results, then they know it's true. Then it's no longer theory, it's fact. Hashem is a truth that is in all circumstances, in all places, and that's because He's not limited. And because Hashem is Ein Sof, there are no limitations, there are no boundaries, and therefore it's forever and everlasting and everywhere, and you can't find a place or a time where His truth does not apply. So therefore Hashem Emes, that Hashem is the absolute truth. So that's what absolute truth is. And that's why the secularists don't have an absolute truth. In that sense, they're right. Because anything is not absolute truth. Only Hashem could be absolute truth, because nothing is even absolute. Only Hashem is absolute. So if you have a concept of Hashem, so then you have a concept of absolute truth. If you don't have a concept of Hashem, you don't have absolute truth. So that's where it starts from. Now we have a neshama, which is a chelek halakha, so our neshama has truth. So therefore we have a truth. And Hashem gave us Torah mitzvahs, and He said that when we Torah mitzvahs, we also come part of that truth. Now He's going a bit Kabbalistic now in the next few lines. And He's going to explain that in Kabbalah, the quality of truth is associated with Yaakov. In Kabbalah, the three patriarchs, the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, represent different qualities. Avram is kindness, Yitzchak is discipline or strength, and Yaakov is center, balance, Torah, or here truth. Why? Why is Yaakov truth? Why is the center truth? So it explains in Kabbalah and Chassidus, if you are one-sided, for example, Avraham, he was totally kindness. So if you are solely focused on kindness, right, that's the only criteria, kindness, 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 so you may be kind to people who don't deserve kindness. So for example, if there is no law and order, kind, kind, kind. So if you take kindness to its extreme, that you're always going to give, then you're going to be, this could be it can lead to corruption, and it can lead to trouble, because there won't be law and order, and people will get away with everything. There's no accountability, and that's why from Avram came Yishmael. So it says in Kabbalah, why did some bad come out of Avram? Because although he was a tzaddik and he was completely kindness, but when you take kindness to its extreme, a Yishmael comes out. What's a Yishmael? A Yishmael is, you know, the Yishmaelim are today, the Arabs. Everything goes, anything goes. No restraint, you know. We're going to take over the world. On the other hand, Yitzchak, he was disciplined. He was ready to give up his life for Hashem. So he is extreme. So in the extreme, Yitzchak is disciplined. and rigidity and control. Now, if this goes too much to the extreme, it's going to lead to violence. It's my way or the highway, and here. So therefore, out of Yitzchak came out Esav, because that is when you allow Gvura to go to its extreme. So who brought it all together? Yaakov. It's truth. Why is true? What is truth? How does this resolve all the issue? Titin emet li Yaakov. Yaakov is midas emes. So what? How does he resolve this? The extremes. And why is Yaakov also called Torah? Torah to emet is also emes. Because really, kindness is great. But you have to know when to apply kindness and when not. That's what Torah teaches us. That's truth. Truth says there's a time to be kind. There's a time not to. Truth says there's a time to discipline and to be rigid, and there's a time to let go. And that's why Yaakov is represented by Torah, because the Torah teaches us how to do this. And that's why also a turn in Kabbalah, when they speak about the construction of the Mishkan, the sanctuary in the desert, so there were walls that were made of pieces of pillars of wood that were connected to each other, and there was a bar that held them together. So you had 5 pieces of wood, 5 pillars that were cut square like next to each other. They made a wall. Then you made 10 pieces. So you made a wall on the north, on the south. They made a wall. How do you keep these beams or pillars together? They were bars that combined them. So there was one bar that was in, so the bars were on the outside. They put rings and you put a bar through it, so it had to get held together several beams, several columns. But in addition to that, there was the inner bar, Bria Chatichoin, the inner bar, and that went from one end to the other end. It went in one end to the other end. So the inner bar had something unique. It doesn't just put together one set of a few beams. It went across the whole wall, from one end to the other end. So the Kabbalah says there's a concept of something that goes from one end to the other end. That goes from one extreme to the other extreme. From the highest level to the lowest level. That permeates everywhere. What is this? What does the inner bar represent that goes from one end to the other end? So Kabbalah said that is the quality of truth. From the highest level to the lowest level. Therefore, there's a truth in every level. What's the truth? Let's look at the inner bar. The inner bar is the inside of everything. It wasn't on the outside attached to it. It was on the inside. Inside the beams, they drilled a hole, and in the hole that went through all the beams, they put the inner bar that stretched from one end to the other end. So now you know. There is the inner energy or the inner quality that it goes through it all. It's in the inner, the central, the center, the core. The center core of everything, that's the truth that's in everything. It's its truth. Truth has no boundaries. It has no boundaries. Ve'ein lo ashir lamayla drayim alas. It has no limit till the highest level. Now this is a really Kabbalistic concept, and it's based on how does everything in Kabbalah, where does everything come from? Where does everything start? What is the root? What's the shayrish? The Ein Sof, the essence of Hashem, who is the absolute truth. And this God, who is the absolute truth, Hashem, who is the absolute truth, from him is the Seder Shtalshalus, from him is everything came. He energized everything. So since he energized and made everything, so his energy is the core, is the nucleus of the atom. But it's not the nucleus of the atom in a physical sense or in a sense of physics, but in Kabbalah, every atom that you speak about, the energy, the atomic energy in the center of the atom and the protons and the neutrons that are going inside, the nucleus of that is the godly energy that's in that. That is the truth of each atom. And that's the truth of everything. And that's why the truth is everywhere. So therefore the Rambam says, Ein emes kamitosi. There's no truth like Hashem's truth. Because like it says the Rambam, if everything exists because Hashem exists. And if everything would stop to exist, Hashem would still exist. Because he is the absolute truth. And absolutes are forever. Since they didn't come into being, so therefore you can't cease their being. So now he's concluding the chapter that everything has its roots in the top, and therefore on the lower levels of truth, they should still understand that there are higher levels than it. And this is first of all connected to the Beinoni, that the Beinoni has to understand that the Beinoni is not in the level of the Tzaddik. And after all of the praise and the qualities that we are giving the Beinoni, that he has a truth in him, and that truth has value, and it's a truth, it's a part of a truth, it has truth to it. It's part of Hashem's truth. It's not fake truth. It's Hashem's truth. It's the inner bar that permeates all of existence. Because truth is everywhere in everything. And if there's a world, there must be the truth in that. Because everything comes from Hashem, so there's the truth in everything. But there are differences in level. How much of godliness is in everything, and how much truth is in everything. And we have to understand and appreciate that the lower levels are insignificant to the level above it. Because when you speak about Hashem, when it goes to a lower level, it's already taking away from the higher level. The lower level is incomparable to the higher level. Like it's known to all those who study Kabbalah, a higher level in the spiritual realm, or what they call the Shtalshalus, the chain of evolution or devolution from the higher levels to the lower levels, everything has its beginning, which is the head. So let's say the head of a lower world comes from the feet of the higher world. Because it's as if one is below the other. And so therefore, from the heel, you have the next level is head. And the heel of the second level will result in the lower level's head. And that's how the chain goes down from one level to a level. Our sages in the Gemara say The Chayas are the angels that we speak about in davening before the Shema. The Chayas HaKodesh, and they are saying, so they are called the holy animals, so to say. So these are angels, it's not physical beings. So our worlds are insignificant to the feet, the level, the spirituality that is in the feet of the angels. So the lower worlds don't come to the feet of the higher worlds. So I think the bottom line of the lesson over here is not to make us feel bad that we're lower, but I think to inspire us to reach higher. Because a chain can descend, a ladder you can use to descend from high to come down below. You can use that same ladder to go up. And I think that's what this is all about. And I think the word akvayim that he uses is connected with the p'china of Yaakov. Yaakov is also, the word means heel, akvayim from Akev. And why is Yaakov called heel? Because he brought down the highest levels of spirituality of Avraham and Yitzchak, and he brought it down to the lowest level. Why? Because he is the level of truth. And when you have the level of truth, it permeates through and through, from one end to the other end, from the high to the low, and it's in everything. And therefore, when the Beinoni, or anyone for that matter, feels, I'm on a low level, I have nothing to do with truth, I have nothing to do with Torah mitzvahs, Torah mitzvahs is true, Hashem is true, I'm fake, what does that have to do with me? What value does my tefillin have? What matters my davening have? What matters what tzedakah have? I'm not even up to giving $18. What's the value of what the good that I do? So you have to know is that the truth goes from one end to the other, even the heels. Yaakov's the heels, akvayim, even the heels. So we have to strive to do whatever we can do. We are not the ones to measure how truth is not truth, but truth does permeate from one end to the other end. Have a good night.